Welcome back here with Goldberg. Today I wanted to talk about the phenomenon of technology, which is lauded a great deal, but you also see examples of where it's being used to essentially insulate corporations, to erect this wall of indifference to where not only can they fail to provide decent service, but they can also use these elaborate means of throwing obstacles in your path to cut the total number of people they have to employ and perhaps even pay the people that are employed less money. So just to talk about this, last year, I think it was around October, November, I wanted to have a remote start installed in my car. So I went online, Best Buy Geek Squad, you pay the fee, you find an appointment slot, and they sent reminder emails the week before, a couple days before, the night before, and even the morning of. Hey, we can't wait to see you. You're booked and ready to go. So I drove about an hour to the location. You pull into the bay in the back, which says Geek Squad, and you pull on the door, and it's locked. So you're like, okay, you call up the number, no response. You call up the main store number, you get connected to an associate, they put you on hold for a while, then you finally get the store manager after listening to a bunch of funky music. And they're like, oh yeah, sorry, our auto tech quit 2 weeks ago. And I think, oh, okay. And it was like she didn't even care about the whole thing, like it was an inconvenience that I had caused her. So you have these companies with no oversight over these great DIY programs, fix your own problems, and you're like, but they're not that efficient at the end of the day. So I'm not a big, throw a scene type person. I could just call up the customer support number. Most of the people I talked to, I couldn't even understand. But with every instance, you have to start from scratch. They don't carry your case information. Back in the day, and I'm talking about a few years ago, most companies had an email for customer service. You could lay out the details, or they had like a ticket issuing system, and it was a lot more effective. And I think the reason they've moved away from that is that they don't want customers having a paper trail. If their employees promise something, screw up, they don't want you to be able to hold that and say, hey, I've got proof. There's less likely you're going to be able to record a chat, or if you're on the phone. You can do it, but it's more complicated. So I would go through the spiel, explain the situation to these 5 or 6 different people that I was transferred to at various points in the same call, and as soon as you gave them the full story, they would attempt to move you on to someone else. So again, okay, start over. The people would hide behind the typical corporate policies. No, we don't do that. We don't make up for it. It's not our fault. Essentially trying to blame you because you happen to fall through the chicken wire. How dare you? And bear in mind, I'm a pretty down-to-earth type of person. I know that there's the stereotype of Karens out there. As far as I know, I don't have a Karen hairstyle. There are those people that you meet if you work in restaurants, retail, other industries. They're a pain to deal with. But there's also the factor where if a company wants to claim they're providing great service and they screw up, they should be able to do something about it. At the very least, they should make the process of getting a refund very streamlined. With Best Buy, it was horrendous. It was like 30 minutes on the phone just to get a refund. Like, they didn't want to give a refund even though they had totally messed the entire thing up, and they're trying to blame you. So you're like, oh, well, what's the big deal? A month or so later, I buy a game on Amazon, present for someone else. Not a very new game, probably a year and a half old. And I bought it with a group of items. Those all shipped very quickly, but this thing was taking a long time. So you check and it says, oh, it's not going to be in stock for like a month. Like, okay, just cancel it, get it somewhere else. Well, you can't cancel it online because, oh, sorry, we already started your order. You can't even do the self-serve there. Their whatever automated system they have is completely worthless, as are the others we're going to talk about in just a second. Every time you start chatting with someone, it's like, Musulman, Yoji, whatever. Great people, I'm sure, but as soon as you get to the point of explaining the problem, they just disconnect. I've had this happen so many times. Again, not being the type of, can I speak to the manager, but just trying to get something done, and they'll treat you like, oh, you're a problem, now we want to just disconnect very quickly. And then more recently, okay, I have this credit card with Bank of America, which you say, why the hell would you do that stupid decision? That's true, similar to like being with Wells Fargo. but it's a cashback card, rotating categories. I did it because you got a good bonus to start with. I'll do that occasionally. And, you've got these rotating 3% categories where you can get cash back. Well, I happen to have it set for online shopping. I was going out to buy, I want to say, a refrigerator for my new house, so I wanted to switch it to home improvement stores so I could go to Home Depot or the Lowe's and I could purchase. You go on the app, which is provided, and they say that's what you're supposed to use, and there's no way to actually change the cashback category. And it says, oh, you have to log in online to change the cashback category. So you go online, you finally log in, they tell you need to use the app to change the cashback category. You use Erica, their little virtual assistant, and you ask her how to change the category, and she goes, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't quite get it. What are you trying to do? Could you repeat that? Totally worthless. You try to call up the main number, and you get led through this big maze of automated options. You can't get to a person. In fact, it's kind of cringeworthy. This is something that I just experienced with Comcast, and it's been the second time when I've tried to set up I'm using my own modem router, right? Because I'm not going to rent theirs. They say, yeah, you can do it yourself, but once you get to the activation stage, they say, oh, we can't recognize it, you have to call us. You can't actually find their phone number online on their website, or at least it's very difficult to do. There are now websites out there just to tell you how to be able to speak to a real person. It's truly horrendous. And same thing, there are virtual Xfinity assistants like, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of beating off. Could you help? I couldn't quite get that. The rhythm's blocking my ears. In other words, they say that it's convenient, it helps you be able to solve problems yourself, but really it's just an excuse for them to not have to employ more people, to not have to have a decent customer service staff on standby. And of course, the people they're bringing on board, a lot of them are just essentially you can pay them less money because they're probably, at least I have a job. I came from wherever and I'm desperate. There's very little that can be said that's positive about it. I'm all in favor of technology, but if technology means I can solve problems easily, great. Self-service is fantastic. If technology means I can't come into contact with you and the alternatives don't work and are essentially a way to, I call it attrition through frustration. You get so pissed off that you just say, okay, I'm not going to interact with you. I'm not going to bother disputing a charge. I'm not going to bother saving myself some money. I'm not going to get a refund or make you actually stand by your poor service. I'm just going to live and let die because it's too complicated. That is how corporations are operating. So don't assume just because something is digitized or enhanced technological dynamism, that doesn't necessarily mean it's good. It could just be an excuse for them to care less about you as a consumer.